In our darkness there is no darkness with you, Lord. The deepest night is clear as the day.
While he was still speaking, Judas, one of the 12, arrived. With him was a large crowd, armed with swords and clubs, sent from the chief priests and the elders of the people. Now the betrayer had arranged a signal with them. The one I kiss is the man. Arrest him. Going at once to Jesus, Judas said, "Greetings, Rabbi," and kissed him. Jesus replied, "Do what you came for, friend." Then the man stepped forward, seized Jesus, and arrested him. Those who had arrested Jesus took him to Caiaphas, the high priest, where the teachers of the law and the elders had assembled.
In our darkness there is no darkness with you, Lord. The deepest night is clear as the day.
The high priest said to him, "I charge you under the oath by the living God. Tell us if you are the Messiah, the Son of God." "You have said so," Jesus replied. "But I say to all of you, from now on you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One and coming on the clouds of heaven." Then the high priest tore his clothes and said, "He has spoken blasphemy. Why do we need any more witnesses? Look, now you have heard the blasphemy. What do you think?" "He is worthy of death," they answered.
In our darkness there is no darkness with you, Lord. The deepest night is clear as the day.
Early in the morning, all the chief priests and the elders of the people made their plans how to have Jesus executed. So they bound him, led him away, and handed him over to Pilate the governor. Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" "You have said so," Jesus replied. When he was accused by the chief priests and the elders, he gave no answer. Then Pilate asked him, "Don't you hear the testimony they are bringing against you?" But Jesus made no reply, not even to a single charge, to the great amazement of the governor.
In our darkness there is no darkness with you, Lord. The deepest night is clear as the day.
Now it was the governor's custom at the festival to release a prisoner chosen by the crowd. At that time they had a well-known prisoner whose name was Jesus Barabbas. So when the crowd had gathered, Pilate asked them, "Which one do you want me to release to you? Jesus Barabbas, or Jesus who is called the Messiah?" "Barabbas," they answered. "What shall I do then with Jesus who is called the Messiah?" Pilate asked them. They all answered, "Crucify him." "Why? What crime has he committed?" asked Pilate. But they shouted all the louder, "Crucify him!"
In our darkness there is no darkness with you, Lord. The deepest night is clear as the day.
Then he released Barabbas to them. But he had Jesus flogged and handed him over to be crucified. Then the governor's soldiers stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him, and then twisted together a crown of thorns and set it on his head. They put a staff in his right hand. Then they knelt in front of him and mocked him. "Hail, King of the Jews," they said. They spit on him and took the staff and struck him on the head again and again. After they had mocked him, they took off the robe and put his own clothes on him. Then they led him away to be crucified.
In our darkness there is no darkness with you, Lord. The deepest night is clear as the day.
When they had crucified him, they divided up his clothes by casting lots. And sitting down, they kept watch over him there. Above his head they had placed the written charge against him: "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews." From noon until 3 in the afternoon, darkness came over all the land.
In our darkness there is no darkness with you, Lord. The deepest night is clear as the day.
About 3 in the afternoon, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, "Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani." When some of those standing there heard this, they said, "He is calling Elijah." Immediately one of them ran and got a sponge. He filled it with wine vinegar, put it on a staff, and offered it to Jesus to drink. The rest said, "Now leave him alone. Let's see if Elijah comes to save him." And when Jesus had cried out again in a loud voice, he gave up his spirit.
In our darkness there is no darkness with you, Lord. The deepest night is clear as the day.
At that moment, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth shook, the rocks split, and the tombs broke open. When the centurion and those with him who were guarding Jesus saw the earthquake and all that had happened, they were terrified and exclaimed, "Surely he was the Son of God." Many women were there watching from a distance. They had followed Jesus from Galilee to care for his needs. Among them were Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of Zebedee's sons.
In our darkness there is no darkness with you, Lord. The deepest night is clear as the day.
Jesus arrested, judged, found guilty, and condemned to die. If I were arrested and held this night, what would I be found guilty of? That I made friends with people irrespective of their color, creed, or class. That I shared my bread with the poor. That my words and actions brought healing and forgiveness. That I made justice and didn't count the cost. That I sought the truth and then spoke of it. That I recognized my neighbor and loved them as my very self. That I met God along the way. In the healing and forgiveness I received, that I accepted hospitality at many different tables, that I was changed by the lives of others, and often repented my arrogance and foolishness in encountering their wisdom, that friends and strangers sometimes paid the price for me, that I never sought out suffering, but journeyed with it to the best of my ability, that the love of those about me taught me to love myself before God. You call us out of brokenness to mend and remake your creation. Grant us the courage to stay with all those who are held captive this night. In the name of Jesus, who is the good news. Amen.